you cannot have this homeless industrial complex like Bob just described, where all these money is being pumped in, and then you're just seeing all these homeless people everywhere still saying they're not getting any services, and then just hold nobody accountable for it. It's just, that's not anything related to compassion. That's just stupidity.
If we was able to learn more and have a position where we can advance on our own skills, then we would have more opportunities to be more successful in society.
It's more than stupidity. I think you said it best. It is insidious. So the homeless industrial complex is actually a coin that I termed that I'm really glad is picking up speed, because it is a homeless industrial complex. What you have is you have nonprofit organizations that benefit from homelessness. They have no incentive to actually help the people. They have no incentive to make sure that they're healing themselves, that they have access to safe care. And then at the same time, you have a government that has the taxing power to pay for those nonprofits. And so what ends up happening is good nonprofits like the Other Side Academy are ostracized, and other nonprofits where they allow people to go in and do drugs in their facilities, but they won't allow people to bring their medication into those same facilities.
What is up with that?
I have no idea. Again, these are questions that I can't answer. All I can do is raise the alarm and let people know what's happening. But my point is to say, now the city is pushing back on organizations like the Other Side Academy.
Yeah, that's what I find unbelievable. Bob just said the folks like Michelle Flynn and the director of Shelter the Homeless, I can't remember her name, but they did not want to go in the same room with the Other Side Academy folks when they found out they were there. And
think about how much money they have to lose. We're looking in $20 million ranges. That's how much money is given over to homelessness every single year in Salt Lake City and Salt Lake County. And yet you notice that the homeless problem doesn't seem to be abated. You notice that these people go on being unhoused, that they're shooting up on the street, that they're defecating in people's yards, that they're going and stealing from people's cars, right? All of the crime increase is commiserate with the amount of homeless that we see on the street. That doesn't mean that the homeless, because there's more homeless, there's more crime. What that means is that there is something insidious going on that no one wants to take a look at, no one wants to discuss, and there's a revolving door of crime and homelessness here in Salt Lake County that's being fed by these nonprofit organizations who claim to be working in the interest of the homeless. The truth is they're working in the interest of their own pockets. They're lining their pockets while the homeless go on suffering at the hands of people who are abusing them, who are using them, who are victimizing them. It's disgusting. And so for me, my role as prosecutor is to try and get people help to the extent that I can. I think drug courts are great. I think that we can continue them. The issue I have with drug courts is it also sets up a revolving door of crime and homelessness, because we talk about the homeless industrial complex, which I just described, right? You have three players. You have the homeless groups, right? You have four. Homeless people, you then have the housed and the taxpayers, you have the government, you have the nonprofits, and it just goes in one big giant circle, okay? Mm-hmm. The same thing is happening with criminal justice and criminal justice reform. So for everybody who's saying, oh, well, there's for-profit prisons and it's not fair that we're jailing these people. Yeah, it's also not fair that we're charging a defendant $140 or some odd per class to go and get treatment, where they end up going in and talking about UFOs for an hour rather than getting treatment for their serious alcohol addiction that led them to the DUI in the first place. And then they end up using or drinking again, because the stress of having to maintain a job, get a house to live in, go to all these classes, meet with their parole officer, go and pee in a cup, every week or every, 2 weeks, depending on the conditions. All of that money piles up, and who's paying for it? It's the defendant paying for it. And so then what happens when they can't meet all those conditions? Well, they end up turning to crime, or they turn back to their addiction, and they end up back in jail in the first place.